On my wedding day, my fiance lost a game and had to feed his childhood friend alcohol mouth to mouth. In response, I turned around and kissed his best man, leaving everyone at the ceremony in shock. Mason and I had been in love for 8 years, and we finally held our wedding on National Day. I wore a bright suit, waiting quietly in the room for him to come. After waiting for a long time without seeing anyone, I heard a burst of cheers from outside. Looking up, I saw that it was my groom, Mason, and his childhood friend Claire. They had lost a game and had to face the punishment. There was no rush. Mason picked up the glass from the table, filled his mouth with wine, and kissed Claire's lips. Their lips and tongues touched, making a sound, and the wine soaked their collars. It took them a good 10 seconds before they separated. Claire's face was flushed, and her lips were bright red and slightly swollen. Everyone in the room turned to look at me. Their gazes were filled with mockery, sympathy, and schadenfreude. Claire's hand was still on Mason's waist as she looked at me intently, without letting go, with no trace of guilt, and even with a hint of provocation. Claire laughed at me and said, "I was just helping you test the wedding game, don't be mad." I wanted to ask what kind of game would make you feed someone else's husband wine mouth to mouth at a wedding, but I kept my thoughts to myself. Surprisingly, I didn't feel angry at all. Instead, I felt a strange sense of relief, but my best friend didn't feel the same. She rolled up her sleeves, ready to start a fight. Mason stepped in front of Claire, glaring at me. "Audrey, if your friend dares to touch Claire today, this wedding is off." I nodded. I pulled my friend back and motioned for them to continue with the game. Seeing me silent, Mason assumed I was angry. "Can you stop being so jealous? How many times have I told you Claire is just like a sister to me?" His tone was full of frustration. I gave him a lazy smile and replied, "I'm not mad. You guys go ahead with the game. We'll wait in the room." Faced with my calm response, he had nothing more to say, and sat down to continue playing truth or dare with his buddies. Soon, Mason lost again, and he chose truth. Claire quickly took the chance to ask a question, looking at him tenderly. "If Audrey weren't here, would you marry me?" As she spoke, she pulled out a black duffel bag from behind her, revealing stacks of $100 bills inside. "There's $200,000 in here. It can't be a dowry, so just take it as a gift." Faced with this unexpected scene, Mason froze for a moment but quickly regained his composure, looking moved and emotional. Amid the shocked gazes of the crowd, he slowly nodded and said, "I would." Everyone's eyes were filled with shock as they all turned to look at me. I got up from the bed, hiding my entertained expression, and began clapping. "Let's congratulate this couple for finally getting together. May you have many children." I said it sincerely, but everyone thought I was furious. Mason frowned and spoke up, clearly unhappy. "Audrey, how many times have I told you? It's just a stupid game. What's with this nonsense? Are you crazy? It's our wedding day. What do you mean by saying that? Are you trying to call off the wedding?" Listening to his accusations, I couldn't help but find it all amusing. Who exactly doesn't want to get married? He spoke again. "We're not even married yet, and your possessiveness is already out of control. I hate being tied down. You better change this nasty habit today." Saying that, he slammed the door. "You should stay in here, narrow-minded and jealous as you are. We can't enjoy ourselves with you around." Claire looked smug as she provocatively held onto Mason's arm. "Don't worry, you stay here. We'll call you when the game's over." On my wedding day, my husband shut me out of the room. I was forced to watch him act all intimate with another woman while the guests gossiped, holding their envelopes. Just thinking about it made me feel pathetic and ridiculous. But everyone else seemed to think it was completely normal. They weren't surprised by Mason and Claire's flirting. In fact, they acted like my role as the clown in all of this was perfectly natural. In the past, I would have flipped the table and screamed at everyone. It would have ended in an ugly argument. Mason would say that he and Claire were just friends, and I was the one with dirty thoughts. He would be disappointed in me, claiming I was ruining everything and didn't trust him. No matter what I said, he would give me the silent treatment, and even meet up with Claire on purpose, just to make me jealous, until I finally begged for forgiveness like a dog. Only then would he interrogate me, making me admit I was possessive to the point of being irrational, and that I needed to trust him unconditionally. Over the years, through constant manipulation, I had turned into a lunatic who followed Mason's every word. Even on our wedding day, I still found myself instinctively questioning whether I was overthinking things, but deep down, I knew it was them who were in the wrong. The door closed, cutting off the view, and only the noise of laughter and chaos from outside could be heard. I leaned against the window, watching the lively scene below. My friends followed behind, fuming with anger. "This is just too much. If this wedding doesn't happen, who cares anyway?" But any more words were quickly swallowed, as they glanced at my expression and chose not to continue. Everyone thought this wedding wasn't Mason's idea, but something I had begged for. Not long ago, Mason said he wanted to marry me, and I agreed. I had naively believed that after 8 years of waiting, I was finally going to get my happy ending. But today's events were like cold water, waking me up. My best friend Sophie, who had spoken up for me earlier, was frustrated beyond words. "You've been humiliated like this, and you still want to marry him?" I looked at Sophie and said, "Then I won't." As I spoke, I started taking off the golden hairpins and jewelry. Sophie was startled and quickly stopped me. "Are you crazy?" But what Elle did next really shocked everyone there.